Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being the show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Witch Watch Season 1, Episode 10. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So this episode, we get our proper introduction to the student council, and I guess it never crossed my mind that we would, but usually in most school life series, your student council end up being, at least if not pivotal, at least recurring characters. And our student council at this school are a bunch of oddballs. It was interesting because when we got initially introduced to the vice president, well, one of the vice presidents, we'll get to that in a second. I thought at first I was like, oh, is she the student council president? But then she was like, no, I'm the vice president. I was like, oh. Then who the hell is the student council president? But yeah, she shows up throwing a rose, and she's like, "Oh, it's not that deadly." And it's like, "What are you talking about? You literally threw it, and it pierced through concrete." But basically, the student council has come to do a decision that Nico using her magic is too dangerous, so they want to basically make it so that she can't use her magic at school. Which I think is interesting because I'm like, it's been a while, so I mean, granted, we don't know how long it's been time frame wise in universe, but obviously it's been a couple episodes since she revealed herself to the school, and I guess it's because it's become even more of a thing, even though word has gotten around about Nico being magical. But I guess after was that episode? Yeah, last episode where her and Morihito like put up the poster to be like, "Yo, come to Nico if you want if you need any magical help." But I mean, it also kind of makes sense. It's like, and you thought like, oh, maybe that was going to be like, oh, they're going to be a serious like not threat, but an adversary that Nico will have to overcome. And it's like, no, they're a hodgepodge of misfits. But the whole bit for those characters being, oh no, they're all like tropes from animes. Like the vice president, she's the older sister scary type, but the sexy older sister type. The other one is kind of like the whole like, oh my god, he's got that very specific way of talking, and he looks sly and shady with his eyes, but then his eyes open when he's got like something super important. I just love the tropes they run through. There's a robot who's actually not a robot because we later on find out like, oh, he's more like a cyborg, but actually he's not even a cyborg at all, even close to a cyborg, because it's actually a cardboard helmet that he's wearing in the form of like a robot head. We had the two twins. One's kind of got this dark energy about her. The older twins got this like very cheery energy about her. And like I said, they're just filling in all these tropes. And apparently, like this student council is known for being Trope-tacular, name of the episode and all that. But they don't like it because they think it's kind of complete and other BS. But it's like, no, look at yourself. And even later on, they kind of go like, because I think Morty does like, how do you guys function as a student council? And they kind of look at each other, and he's like, oh, I guess you don't. Which this might be the biggest student council I've ever seen. For one, they have two vice presidents. I'm not saying they can't have. I think they have two general affairs. Obviously, technically, they have two. Oh yeah, because one of the treasurer is a hacker, right? And it's just doing the cliche thing of like him hitting the enter button and all that. Him being kind of like the young hacking genius and stuff like that. So a lot of tropes and a lot of fun. And then we get introduced to, which we've seen him in the intro for a little bit, the student council president Tenryu. Turns out the moment they mention like I think his last name is Koyima, something like that. They say like Suzuka, and I was like, isn't that the girl from the helping with her grandmother, like when they were like she was forced to do that tea ceremony thing, and they showed her face, and it was like, yes, it was her. There was another person they referenced in the group as well. They were like, oh, this is so and so's older brother. And I was kind of wondering, like, for some of the older members of the student council, I was like, oh, are we going to find out they're all siblings of characters we've kind of already met or something like that? I forgot who it was, but there was someone they referenced too that's also an older sibling to someone I think we've met already. But either way, and then like what was that whole bit Tinder you had where he was just kind of like, he's a man of kind of like Morihito's like, do you have a limited vocabulary? Because he's like, oh, don't be rough with them. It's like, you said that before and you're saying it again. And it's like, why do you keep walking around with your hand on your hat like that? Or is your hand stuck? And he's like, yes, my hand is stuck to my hat. It's like, how did that happen? And they kind of were about to start some diatribe about how it happened, but it never really went anywhere into actually explaining how that happened. Because we see him later on still having that situation going on. So I'm like, are you still implying that his hand is still stuck to his hat? I love that line to him, to Morihito. He's like, look how much you've grown. He's like, we just met. It's like, oh, what do you think the student council is missing? And Morihito's like, common sense. And Tenryu's like, wrong. It's because we need someone like you, because he wants to even it out like 10 members, which I was like, oh, that's interesting. You chose the number 10. I don't think Luffy ever expressly said this in the anime. Maybe he said it in the manga. Definitely says it in the live action, which I'm assuming it's just supposed to be a wink and nod to what the crew is currently. But Luffy was like, oh, like I need 10 members as the straw, what would eventually become the Straw Hats. But yeah, he wants to basically get Tenryu wants to get Morihito to join, and Morihito's like, no, I'm not going to. It's like, we're not even fully resolving the whole Nico not being able to do magic at the school thing. That has actually no resolution at all in this episode. I was curious because this takes up most of the episode. Like, it's technically 2 sections of the episode, and then the third section is the whole Nimu thing, but we'll get to that later. Because it seems like the student council president, he seems more okay with it, but he says, like, right, the other student council members have an issue with it. And the issue ends up being what I thought it would be, because Nico is helping people over magic. They're jealous because they can't really help anyone when Nico is out here solving all the problems. It kind of makes the student council a little redundant. So interesting, because they're going after Morihito rather than getting Nico to try and join, which I thought would be fascinating. But we end up finding out, like, there's a freaking little, like, because it's Keigo and Khan come find them on top of the roof, because they're like, yeah, we're avoiding the student council because they want me to join so badly. And there's a video like that was been put together of showing the student council, and then even Keigo and Khan having the same reactions that Morihito was having towards them. It's like, oh, this isn't making any sense. I even love there's a line from Nico where she's like, oh, poor Morihito, he's literally being surrounded by the type of people he doesn't like to have conversations with, and he's full-blown raging because of it. But yeah, we find out, interestingly enough, that Tenryu handles a lot of the issues and the moment he's just like, oh, I'll take care of that. I'm like, wait, did you basically hire people who are inept at their jobs? At first I was like, are you just hiring people because it fits the mode of like, well, I don't care if you're actually good at your job. I'll take it all on myself, but it's just because I want, this is his way of making friends or filling the role of kingship, as he kind of talks about it later on. But I love that Morihito's takeaway from it was, oh my God, he basically takes care of people who constantly screw up. He has to clean up their messes and fix things. And he's like, oh my God, no wonder Tenryu likes me. And why I felt a sort of connection and closeness with him. We're literally the same person. He's like, it makes it hard to hate the guy, but I don't want to like him either, which is so fascinating. I was like, that's so interesting. But yeah, Morihito sees a lot of himself in Tenryu because he's stressing about it. He's like, oh my God, we're basically the same person. All the Khan and Nico issues that he has to kind of clean up. But Morihito still has no opinions on joining the student council. And I'm curious, will that change if, like, Nico... I'm sure if Nico got involved, he probably would change. That probably would be the way in, is to get Nico to join, and then Morihito would most likely join, because Nico would probably convince him to join, but he'd also probably do it just to be around her extra. But, yeah. I mean, the student council is pretty full up as it is, but who's to say you can't have more members than you already do, right? You're going for 10, like, why can't you have 11? So... Because Tenryu is, I think he's the only third year amongst them. The rest are like, some of them are like, well, I think both vice presidents are second years. There's some first years as well, so. But maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe he's not the only third year. I also love the one that's kind of like the psychotic one who has the knife. He's the one. I couldn't remember, but there was the one that was like, oh, like they reference like, oh, he's so and so's older brother. It was the guy with the makeup and crazy with the knife. I love that at one point he licks the knife and he cuts his tongue and he kind of puts like gets a napkin to like kind of or tissue to kind of stop the bleeding. And it's like, why were you licking the knife in the first place? That's gonna happen. So I just love that bit, and the whole situation ends with Tenryu being like, "Hey, I'm gonna challenge. Like, I'm not gonna force you, but I'm basically gonna force you through a challenge of if I strike, I'm gonna pop up out of nowhere and strike you, and if I'm able to land a strike on you, you're gonna be forced to join the student council." So that's where that situation ends up. We'll have to wait to see where things kind of go forward from there, but. The last part of the episode involves with Nemu showing up again. It's been a hot minute, but she kind of specifically wants to talk to Morihito because obviously she was already interested in him because she wants an ogre as a familiar, but then also like she kind of saw a side of him that she really likes him and she wants to kind of talk to him, but she can't bring herself because it's like, right, I'm going to look like a crazy stalker because I'm some random, because you don't know me. I'm some random girl that showed up at your place because I know exactly where you live because I was here before. But it's like, how do I just like, oh God, that's just going to be so awkward. So what does she do? Her solution is, oh, I'm going to turn back into my cat form. It's like, okay, but it's also like, right, when I was in this form, he pet me. And so it's such an awkward thing. I'm so curious how Nico's going to feel when that's revealed. I'd love it so much if it takes a while in the story for that reveal to happen, where Nico and them meet her as Nemu, and it's forever before they find out that Nemu is the same cat they've had run-ins with. I'd love that to be the thing, because I'm sure like Nemu would feel embarrassed about it, because she'll probably get to know Nico and be like, oh man, you're actually pretty cool, and now I find out you're in love with him, and now I feel a little awkward about it, so do I tell you the truth or not? Or will it be a situation that she finally does get caught in her cat form turning back into a human form? Either way, she goes back into the house, and she gets drinks spilled on her by Nico by accident, and Morihito is offering to bathe her, which she's kind of like, oh, like I don't know, this is going a step too far. Shouldn't let this happen. But it's like, am I just thinking about how he pet me and now the thought of him washing me? And it's like, oh, there's no sponge. I'll have to use my bare hands. It's like, okay, and she just gives into it. And I love the cut back to her as like in her human form, basically having him wash her hair and stuff. It's actually really adorable. But it's kind of like. I think that's a very nice like PG like way to like visualize that is be like, oh, you scrubbing my fur is you scrubbing and washing my hair versus like, well, you're really washing my entire body. You're actually bathing me versus just like washing my hair. But it's like, well, she's even like, she kind of does like I don't know if it's supposed to be like a poem or a haiku where she's like about like, oh, she's Cinderella in the white dress with all like the soap foam. And it's like, once it hits a certain time, it'll disappear and stuff. But because it's also coinciding with, hey, this is too comfortable. If I fall asleep, I'm going to turn back into a human. And it's going to be like, wait, who's this random girl in our house covered in suds from soap? But then it's like, no, I've trained up since last time. I'm going to be able to like not fall asleep. But she falls asleep in Morihito's lap. And when he's like drying her off, she transforms back into her human form. But they're so caught up with the comedy show that they're watching that she just slides up and just tiptoes out the house, even though they're all right there. But it's just haha, we're laughing with our eyes closed and we're so focused. I'm like, didn't even notice a shift in weight. But I guess you could also make the argument he's so strong as an ogre that it didn't register or something like that. So the like difference in weight. But yeah, she runs away and she's like, I can't keep doing this over and over again, finding myself in this cycle of I'm gonna show up at your place, get pet or put in some compromised position, get embarrassed and run away. But then she's lost in the forest, and then immediately she's like, whoa, what's this feeling? She called it like, I guess maybe it's an ability unique to her, because like it never came up with Nico. And to be fair, Nemu didn't notice it until she went into this particular area. But she's like, oh, it's a warlock, which the person they're referring to as a warlock, they said she, right? Because in my head, I'd actually brought that up earlier because I was like, well, we've introduced witches. And so that was always my thing of like the differences between like, I thought like witches and warlock was just like a gender thing. But maybe they're not mutually exclusive. Maybe a warlock is just supposed to be like, because I think I do look at the term warlock. I tend to look at that as more like evil, like a magic person, a guy with magic. I tend to go like wizard. and then women I typically go with witches. But like, once again, I've always just kind of attributed that, and I looked at, because warlocks typically I associate with being evil, so maybe warlocks are just meant to be a general term for like evil, like magic users. So maybe it isn't gender specific, like I kind of assumed it was, because some things just kind of use that. Once again, I think witch and warlock are supposed to be like the gender opposites to each other, versus like I don't think it's witch and wizard. I don't think those are the two opposites. I think it's warlock and witch, whatever the case may be. It's semantics really. We kind of finally get introduced somewhat to the guy we saw in part of the intro, who seems to be kind of an antagonist. And at first, Nemu's like, "Yo, is that the warlock?" But it's like, no, he's most likely her familiar. So the question is, what is he? Is he also a ogre like Morihito, or is he something else? But we see the warlock, and it turns out they're after Nico. And it's like, oh, how many do you have? And it's like, we have like 40 or 50. And I'm wondering, like, what is that? I wonder, do they have like, is that how many like people we have on our side to go up against Nico, or what? Once again, the episode title for the next episode coincides with Nico's mom's um, prophecy. So that might be where that comes into place though, because that familiar might be a dog, because the whole thing is supposed to be about rain and dogs or whatever. So, well, rained and a dog. So, but Nemu's rushing to go warn Nico about what's coming. So I wonder why specifically Nico. Maybe it's because she's in that transitional period as she's trying to grow as a witch. Maybe this person's trying to corrupt her at a very young age. That is like, if I can corrupt you now, like maybe it's a thing of, I know how powerful you are and who you're destined to be. And if I can corrupt you now, you could be an asset for me in the long run, or whether I want to take your powers. I mean, it could be a thing of this person hunts witches that are like training to become even like full-fledged witches, and basically sucks away their power in their prime or something like that. That might be the direction it's going. It could be kind of like a Rapunzel, kind of like a Mother Gothel thing, where like she was feeding off of Rapunzel's powers, like stay eternally young type of thing. Not like, maybe it's not the young thing, maybe it's more the power thing. I don't know. Like I said, maybe that's what the 40 and 50 was in reference to. But either way, obviously we're kind of like, oh, we're hitting a serious part of this story. So it's going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us. The next episode is a multi-parter. It's at least part 1. I was looking it up because I don't know if I've looked it up previously. Apparently, there's only supposed to be 11 episodes in this season, which seems weird because I thought I was like, episode 11 seems like a weird spot to end the season. So, but I've seen other conflicting things saying like, no, this show's actually going to run for 26 episodes. That basically it's going to be like what's the term again? I think it's COUR, like cur. Basically, it's like there's multiple parts to a season of an anime, so that there's actually going to be 2 parts in particular for this. So if you've been watching Sakamoto Days, it's kind of like that, because I wonder if they're going to do the Sakamoto's thing where like the first half of the season was released, and now like the second half of the season's coming out next month. So I wonder, is that the direction they're going, or is the numbers just off, where it's like, no, it's actually going to be 12 or 13 episodes for this season, or or is it going to be a thing of, yes, there are 2 parts to this season, but it's going to be continuous? Like if Mission Yosakura Family, I mean, I don't watch enough anime to know, like I'm only recently gotten more associated with those terms of like I said, like a core, a part of a season, whereas like Mission Yosakura Family, like it was technically 2 parts of one season. It was like 24 episodes in total, maybe 26. But it's like there was no break in between. It's like, oh, the moment you reached kind of the end of the first part, you immediately went into the second part. It didn't really seem like there was a split or anything. So I'm wondering if the same thing is going to happen with Witch Watch or not. I'm really curious to see how this plays out. We'll probably have more answers after the next episode, giving us some clarity on where things gotta go. But yeah, But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.